Hi, everyone. I'm happy to have a superstar panel today with the great energy that we have from the Deutsche Telekom Hubraum today under the Startupnight conference, that the motto is stay confident or be confident, because we all had extreme year. Part of us truly pivot, part of us grew like crazy, and part of us really had to reshaping our business. So the motto of this conference is to give back. And thank God I'm super lucky to have Stephan von Perger, Oliver Csendes, and Ingo Dahm. I'm very proud to have each one of you, and it's not for nothing. It's actually because each one of us is super different and can bring different value to our audience. So maybe we will start not with an official way, but only the introduction will be the official way. And maybe, Stephan, you can start with introducing yourself to the people that are listening to us.
Thanks, Mali, for putting this panel together. My name is Stephan von Perger. I'm a computer scientist by training, worked as a consultant, as a VC, and as a founder. And at the moment, I'm kind of focusing on building a community of founders, investors, and innovators to connect with each other to advance their career. It's called InnovatorsRoom. And would be exciting to get your questions soon.
Fantastic. Oliver.
Yes, hi, I'm Oliver, Hungarian by birth, educated in Vienna and in Oxford in business and innovation and strategy. I had a corporate career, a consulting career, and 7 years ago, actually, I joined the startup investors ecosystem out of Vienna. I was CEO of Pioneers, managed the Pioneers Festival, and started the consulting arm of Pioneers and Pioneers Discover, doing open innovation projects in corporate settings, and also supporting startups to increase their success rate. At the moment, I'm self-employed. I'm working on my own startup and doing consulting work because I realized that I really need to give the entrepreneur cycle a go, not just build ecosystems and support them, but actually hands-on go through the whole experience. So that's where I'm at the moment.
Fantastic. Ingo.
Yeah, that's my name. I'm Ingo. I am founder and CEO of Capacura, and Capacura is most probably the most innovative European impact investor. We love startups, but we also love education, healthcare, and our environment. And we try to help startups to make a deep and strong impact to our society. That's what we are doing.
And we love your passion while doing this. And I know many things beyond that, because we all, at some point, spoke about also the diversity issue. And although, Oliver, you are in Vienna, but let's call it DACH area, which is the same culture. Part of it is even the same challenges. So we can talk about it as even like as a one ecosystem. So maybe let's throw on the table the big topic. The topic is that COVID actually switched a lot when it comes to the new work, or whatever name dropping I can put here, but we understand that all the industry of the startup venture capitals and corporates going to the founder-centric, or going to the personality behind, where you're going to invest in, who you want to work with, who you hire to your startup, who you are hiring to the corporates as well, different department. What can you say, what your experience actually, what is your overview for the last, it's already a year and a half? And please just jump in, don't be too polite. Please, Stephan, unmute yourself, because I want.
I will unmute myself and start. That's easy.
Please, exactly.
So I think the pandemic has obviously, been a significant shift. Everyone is working remotely. I think from a talent and recruiting point of view, it just opened a completely new field. And I think I haven't seen much people talk and research this yet, what it means if a startup that previously was kind of focusing on getting great men and women in Berlin to work with them, now they're much more open to having a global talent pool. And what does that mean for getting a cheaper developer elsewhere, and VCs are now much more relaxed about having a remote team. What does it mean for your existing staff that you trust and like, if they can get an offer from anywhere else in the world and potentially be much more open to working remotely? So I think there's a really interesting globalization of the talent pool going on that at least I have not really understood yet what it really means. I think it's just exciting at the moment that, working remotely is much more normal than it was 2 years ago. And I think we're all learning how to deal with that hybrid new reality.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting thought, and this is relevant for both startups and corporates. I think another interesting thing there is that it's often more difficult to get to know and onboard new people who you're hiring. And while hiring has always been an art, right, and also a science, but now it's even more challenging. And the other way, just what Stephan mentioned, people can be doing different things. They can be hustling in different businesses. They can be wearing different hats. You don't know it that much. So I think passion, engagement, and commitment it becomes even more important. And then maybe an additional thought is that more than ever before, adaptability and open mindset to learn becomes so much important, because we changed the way how we work, we changed the challenges that we are facing are different. So basically adapting to this new reality, shaping this new reality requires a totally different mindset, where often our past experiences are actually more a liability than an asset if we are not open to changing our point of view and to learning new things. So that's definitely something that this pandemic also shows us, is who are the people who are happy to throw away their assumptions, unlearn certain things, and are really quick in learning new things.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Question is what to add. Should we end the panel discussion right now? So I throw in some thoughts like, I don't like globalization too much in the talent pool. Why? Because, if I really think it to an end, is it that we find the startup pool in the cheap regions of the world? I don't like that we that bring IT developers to India or China only. I like to interact with people in the region, because this makes the local region stronger. And this is also a point that I would like to see in my startups, that they don't want just to have a cheap stuff, but also local stuff. Not only because I love diversity, and I think that for a global company, you need global stuff. But if you really take social responsible as a meaningful asset, you should care about your local society also. So this is one point. And another point is onboarding and getting in contact with those guys. I mean, a sales person that you hire and in a normal conventional interview can give you an idea how the salesperson works in a face-to-face environment, but not on a video conference, and vice versa. So this is a chance for all of us, but it's also a challenge. So that's what I wanted to say. And we work together with people remotely, but we also observe this is a freaking challenge to bring this team spirit together via Zoom or Teams or all the other digital tools. And we say that we definitely need interaction points. And this becomes more and more difficult when the geographical region is a very large one and people need to travel a long time to see each other.
I think that's a very interesting point that you just mentioned there, Ingo, and maybe I can build up on that one. You said that it's difficult to create local communities or even or even nurture them if everybody is spread around everywhere, right? And who cares about the community, the regional one? And I think that's also true for ecosystems. And if we're talking about building entrepreneurial ecosystems, it's going to be very difficult to build a local, because proximity is still something very important. Spillover effects, learning effects. You know, people say that successful ecosystems are also the ecosystems where there's a lot of change going on, where people change between companies and they take the know-how and they pass it on. And these spillover effects are going to be very difficult to have. And then there's also a moral question, and I was also thinking about this. You have some Silicon Valley companies, you know, who are facing extremely high costs of human resources, right? And they are already hiring people in Texas, and then they're hiring people in other locations, and actually the pay is based on the location where the person is living, because they say they are not going to pay for a higher amount for lower you know, cost of life, which again poses the question: if you're an Indian developer, how much should you earn if you're working for I don't know, a San Francisco based company? And then that becomes also a social topic that we could probably discuss longer than this conference will give us time to.
That's a good point. And what if I would tell you that diverse team are actually outperforming, and diverse team is not gender things, it's absolutely also background, culture, markets. And Ingo, it's something that I totally hear you, and I want to challenge the discussion, because actually I'm saying the opposite. You know, the best deal that I closed in my life started, I would say, okay, WLOUNGE life, okay, not before, started, you know, since we convert everything to the online, which means I reach out to a bigger audience. I can be at the morning in Tel Aviv and at the evening in Silicon Valley, and we closed a partnership deals that we never, ever met each other. Part of them is stepping into a venture capital that I can support them for impact investment in Africa, but we never literally met in person. So what you're saying is that we cannot build this trust or the efficiency while we're working remotely. I mean, sorry for pushing. I just want to challenge the discussion, because I always said go big, go global. You know, don't stay on one market. It's too small, and probably you cannot reach super talent or enough talent in Germany to grow such, you know, as maximum potential.
I need to be very precise here.
Please.
I like globalization and the global talent pool, but not only for the sake of cost or cost reduction. As long as you want to reach out to the very, very best developer, to the very, very best saleswomen, to the very, very best marketing guys who fit your team and your culture and structure, and you don't care if they live in, let's say, Ghana or Silicon Valley or in South Bavaria, then you are absolutely brilliant superstar in HR. The question is more, don't underestimate what it makes or how the culture can boost your startup. And there I would say culture is very difficult to transport over a digital network. And I think that's the issue.
So actually you agree with me, but on the same time, you say that you will invest in, I would say, remote team, but from the right reason.
Absolutely, yes. And in diversity, we invest in diversity as well. That doesn't only mean men or women. And I hate that discussion, because it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It is, you need the best person for the job. And to be precise here, when you only find men for the job, you should be aware that there's maybe a blind spot in your in the way how you're approaching them. But when you take diversity very seriously, you take age groups, you take a look on handicapped people, for example. You take a look at, and it doesn't matter how you look. It is just a question if you have the right passion, if you have the right integrity, if you have the right person for the job, and it's no question of color or sex or whatever, and who the person loves or so. Just ignore it. It is just you need to love the person and you want to make business with them.
Stephan, what do you think?
Very interesting discussion so far. I think I'm kind of thinking, how does that change as a founder or as an investor? How do you need to act in that new reality, right? And I think there's definitely this element of picking up all the themes that Ingo just mentioned, and like thinking ahead of this talk, I thought, well, in a way, to me, nothing has changed of what a founder needs to do. She needs to aggressively build a product. He needs to sell it. He needs to analyze it. She needs to fundraise for it. It's kind of very similar in many ways, but then at the same time, it feels like, maybe this is anecdotal evidence, that awareness of diversity, purpose, sustainability, all these things now are part of the skill set of a leader. And you can't just come in and be super aggressive. I mean, some people can still get away with that because they have $1 billion valuation very quickly, but it feels like the best of people in the world are expecting increasingly to have other things than just the obvious perks in a job. And it feels like maybe this whole combination of, the global talent pool gets more connected, meaning people can pick and choose more where they want to work. And then maybe, hopefully, I would say from my point of view, things like diversity and purpose and sustainability and fairness can just become more important as a choosing function for folks that are looking for a job. And I think that we will see how that plays out in the next few years. I think it's also interesting to see, today we say that the hybrid workplace, the hybrid networking is just a bit weird because we're not used to it. But I mean, I don't know, 15 years ago, it was normal to book a flight online, book a flight in a shop where you go and discuss with the person what flight you need. Today, it's clearly that this is not the right way to do it. So I'm really curious how we will look back in 10 years to today and say, wow, was this just the starting point of a completely new way of engaging with virtual reality, etc.? Or, is there something human in us that needs this physical, real connection, and building great companies will always require this? I'm very curious about that.
So let's be more concrete than before. What do founder personalities need and how do they differentiate from, let's say, 2 or 3 years before? So my best guess is, number one, in contrast to before, you need digital literacy is even more important, even in non-digital businesses. Second, building a workforce and even a remote workforce and a culture in the team is more relevant than ever before. And this said, inclusion of different styles, and this is also an HR issue, inclusion of different styles is so difficult, and that it needs to be a part of leadership. So I think everybody has observed how difficult it is to have a hybrid team meeting. Some people in your room and some in front of their computers. This sucks, and it can be only be improved with people who understand that problem and tackle it day by day. So I think this is a very important issue, and not to forget everything else that we needed in the past. Strong sales and analytic competencies is needed than as before. It is just the difference, the little difference to, but the main things that you need as an entrepreneur, dealing with ambiguity and all that stuff, it hasn't changed over time.
One thing that I see, though, and I absolutely agree with Ingo on what you said, managing the culture and building teams in your proximity still, and the digital way of also conveying a vision and inspiring people. On the other hand, I also believe that smart founders will be better in building on existing networks and also finding people who can complement their teams, even if they're very far away. So basically using this, what you just said, the globalization of the talent pool as an opportunity for them to maybe even find maybe just short-term employment or people for certain projects, or tap into certain value and resource pools that they might have not been thinking about maybe 2 years ago. And yes, that will bring a totally new challenge for managing these work streams and managing the people.
But Oliver, as a founder yourself and also founder of Pioneer, you know, which bring us together as a network builder, an ecosystem builder as well, what are your observations right now, you know, as an ecosystem in general? Like, who are really those founders that you see that they are winning the game, you know, they are growing, they are capable of doing stuff that maybe before they couldn't, or they're actually performing better right now? Is there anything that you saw that it's different than before 2020?
Difficult to say, because it's very rare that you have overnight success, right? So the media is full of successful unicorns now, and huge valuations and big rounds, and I still don't know why people don't measure their success in the number of customers rather than in the number of dollars they raise, but that's another discussion. But these successes, they didn't start yesterday, right? And they didn't start during COVID. They started 5 to 10 years ago. So I don't think that we see the real successful ones already. They are probably still under the radar and even in stealth and working their asses off. I can assume that it's going to be more the self-starters. It is going to be more the people who find ways in these circumstances to still run quick experiments and go through the cycles they need to go through very quickly. And that's often not as easy to do. I mean, I am building a media music startup. For me, it's super easy to jump on customer interviews, do problem discovery and solution design with them, because the singers are all around the world, and anyway, I would have reached them only through digital channels. And yes, there are 2 meetups that I'm not attending now. I could have been attending if it wasn't for COVID, but that will not make that huge difference. But what the challenge is really working from home, being alone, not seeing my founders, my co-founders, being spread out regionally and geographically around the world, and still keeping, you know, the cycles and still iterating as quickly as possible.
Stephan, you know, you also doing, you know, these innovator rooms. It's actually touching a lot of probably different characters, and I know your background. You know, this is not the first things that you're doing. So what is your overview? Definitely, I would say, as a Berliner as well, what do you see, maybe change, maybe not, but what do you see also when even corporates, not necessarily a startup or venture capitals, searching to hire people, what they're searching, you know, is it different than before? Are they putting attention on something else?
It's an interesting question. I would say there's always a up and down of how many corporates do corporate innovation. It feels like we are currently on a up again. I thought that kind of COVID would restrict that activity a little bit, but it seems that the high stock prices and maybe, you know, the promise of online is just so strong that everyone wants to go in there now. And when it comes to specific jobs, I feel that the only thing that I've noticed is an explosion of this category of EIR and founders associate jobs, which seems like a new way of maybe calling your intern that does some admin work, but it could also be a sort of junior co-founder role that enables someone to step up to be a founder in the next venture, maybe. And I think kind of
it's like giving people
seems to be a lot of people. Exactly, it seems there's like a bit more of a clear path now for people that are very junior that just want to go into this founder direction, and then maybe being a founder's associate or an EIR, entrepreneur in residence, can be a nice stepping stone towards gathering that experience of being around a early stage founding team. That would be kind of what I've anecdotally noticed in the last 2 years in terms of the job space.
That's super interesting, without even understanding that I'm doing this in WLOUNGE. but this is beautiful because it's giving people a chance on how they're, I would say execute or perform and not like this CV that we like to stick to.
Although I would be cautious with that, because if you think about a big corporate, and a big corporate earns their money, right, with high repetitive, low error processes, they are good in scaling, and they're good doing green things at scale. Their culture, systems, organization is not built to run quick experiments with unknown outcomes, right? And when they're telling people you are an entrepreneur in residence, and then you come in and basically you found yourself confronted with this huge tanker that is not ready to move, which is okay, because obviously they are earning money for their shareholders on that course they are, and they have already done the discovery, right? They need to create a different culture, different, whether it's a speedboat or it's a rocket, whatever you want to call it, where you can still rediscover things, unlearn things, and come up with new things. The question is how much they can really offer these people that environment, and if they can, how do they separate it from their existing culture? Because they need to make sure that the ones who are earning the money today don't get pissed off and by people running around in Snickers and sitting on I don't know, puffs and drinking Red Bull the whole day in the innovation space, because clearly,
so my observation was mostly about startups, not about corporates, for the EIR and founder associate role. Sorry for that confusion. Okay, but you're right, there's still some EIRs in the corporate world, and you definitely have to double check whether that's what you're getting in for.
Yes. Okay, well, now I understand you. Yeah, thanks for clarification.
Yeah, they're the risk takers. Come on, what's new under the sun? But coming back to the startups, Ingo, let's talk as a venture capital for a second. I mean, we all, four of us, deeply in this ecosystem. Did you see any chance or changes, or like even the way you screen the team? Something has changed, or like, we want to send a message also to our listener. What would you recommend them, when they screen the team to investor, what they should highlight? Maybe it's something else than what we, always see as in every pitch deck.
Yeah, but what I observe has not so much to do with the pandemics, but with the overall trend. I often read now in the journals and online magazines about the zebra is a new unicorn, the camel is a new unicorn, the cockroach is a new unicorn, whatever. So first of all, follow your instinct. You just need to be you, and when you have enough passion to drive into a specific direction, just do it that way. Number one. Number two, I personally believe that even a zebra can be a unicorn. A unicorn just means that you have 1 billion evaluation. And I would love to see unicorns with stripes, yeah? And it would be amazing.
It's actually making real.
Yeah, and I love unicorns because they are so magical as an animal, and I don't cockroaches. So I love founder personalities who follow a purpose. Not because we also love a purpose, but because a purpose gives you that specific passion that is more than just let's earn some money. I don't know if this is enough to go through the valley of death that you definitely will go through when you found a startup. But you want to change the world for the better. You have a community that follows you. It's much easier to go that very, very long way and to enjoy the roller coaster.
But Ingo, how can you genuinely see that there is a passion? Because between you and me, passion is something that you cannot fake. Definitely not when you talk with investors or like let's say second meeting, third meeting, you will see it, I smell it in a second. But the question is like, how, as yourself or all of you, when you screen startup, how can you see the passion? I mean, eventually you still kind of like force them to meet you in person. You want to see the person. I mean, there's nothing like feeling them, but on the same time, coming back to what we mentioned, most of the discussion today are like what we have right now. So I feel your passion, Ingo, by the way, all the way to Berlin. But the question, if you speaking as a founder with your VC, sometimes, they don't find a passion because they're just kind of like too stressed. I don't know. I'm just kind of like trying to see if something is not missing in the process.
Yeah, and I remember the first days when I made my first pitch to a VC, and I was not really authentic. I just wanted that money.
You didn't allow yourself to be crazy.
Don't make a mistake, please. So like this a bit. Well, it's a very good question, because we screen our startups based on an AI. So question is often, how do you smell the passion? And our AI is just a tool set. And you need to understand, do the basics right, and then something on top. And when we use our AI and employ it, we just check the basics. And then after that, we would love to see the team and have a discussion, and we invite every team to our terrace or to our home and eat some sushi with them, or have a little barbecue or whatever. It's so important, because this investing in a startup is not just like buying shares or something. It's not just on the stock exchange. It's more like falling in love. It's for a long time, and it's for a purpose, and you want to support, and you can't support a person that you don't like. So check, and as advice to founders, first make your homeworks, check if this venture capitalist or this business angel really fits to you, and then find out if this as a person fits to you and can provide you more than just money. This sounds...
I think we lost Ingo there.
Ingo, we lost you for a second. Are you back?
Yeah, I said it sounds so simple, but it's so difficult.
Yeah. I mean, maybe to how I would break it down is and what I would look at is the founding team in love with the problem, or are they in love with their solution? The moment you're in love with the problem, and you're really in love with the problem, you will be open to change the course, how you do it. You will listen to your target group and how this could be solved. And of course, you will combine your own creativity and your own speed to create something new, because that's what a startup is about, right? But I think that the important thing is to hear, are they talking the whole time about their own solution, or are they talking about the pain and need of the people who they want to help? And that you could set this equal to basically what is their passion and what is the bigger cause that they are serving, right? The moment they are in love with the problem, I think you're there on the right way. And then there's silence.
Maybe
that was a good one.
Yes, one additional thought. I think so when I was a VC, we would have, as we just heard, like a relatively clear idea of what we expect from founders. And I remember, for example, this notion that as an investor, we were always looking for founders who took a full-time commitment to their startup. And someone who's working on the side on something was kind of a little bit of a negative signal. They're not serious enough about it. And I think kind of looking at what's been happening in our society in the last 2 years, I feel like the level playing field is becoming more and more unlevel, right? Some people, they have a nice home office setup and they can work on 10 side projects at the same time, and others can't. So I feel that, we as a tech community also need to kind of keep looking out for ways of keeping the level playing field as level as possible for everyone. And kind of maybe in the future, starting something on the side can become more normal, or having certain team members not commit full-time, maybe because they have a family. And so kind of, I think we also need to continuously rewrite the rule book a little bit, because otherwise I feel like only folks that are extremely privileged, that have time to start a business while doing a bit of consulting work on the side, for example, that many people don't have this opportunity or this privilege. And so kind of, I think that's an interesting question as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually beautiful, Stephan, because, I'm running so many companies on project on purpose. I mean, they all have the same DNA and actually fit each other. But I also promised myself, I'm 40, I'm allowed to say it out loud. I raised several companies in my life. The last one was 8 years. I don't want to do one thing. It doesn't say that I'm doing something less better than before. I'm just capable of much more multitasking because I know how to manage it. And I also know how to bring the right people around me, nothing I'm doing alone. But come back to you, Ingo, and also Stephan, when you were a VC, today, if a founder came to you and say, Ingo, I'm on it. This is my passion. I'm going to change the world. But you know what? This is not the only things I'm doing. Would you go for it? I saw your face.
Well, it depends. I need to understand what are the other things. And sometimes they are completely different, then definitely no. But sometimes they support each other.
Okay.
We, for example, have people in our own company who follow different career paths. And they have social responsibilities to follow. I mean, that's life, and I love to support that. It's very similar with a female employee saying, "Well, I'm pregnant." I don't say, "Oh my God, what's happening with my company?" It's say that in contrast, I say, "That's super nice, so great. I'm happy with you." I'm unhappy with the situation right now that I need to find a stand-in. That's no question. But I'm super happy with that little new family. And I can have two different things in my mind at the same point of time. And that's normal. And we need to understand that this is a reality. And in contrast to some nerdy founders like myself, you cannot be sure that you have 100% laser focus, because life is different. You have a family, you have parents, you have kids, you have social responsibilities, you have a community, you have friends, you have hobbies. And I wouldn't say that each and every person needs 100% laser focus. It's you need to follow your inner compass. You have to have the right values, and you need a North Star to follow. That's important, no question. But,
so as the woman in the room and also mother, I will ask you: would you invest in women like this in this situation?
For sure. I mean, this is not a question.
Okay, amazing. I wanted to hear that clear.
I hate it, honestly, that people ask that question because, well, we are different. Men are not women and women are not men. But so what? We are all human beings and we can learn from each other. But I cannot learn from you how to give birth to a child. In some points we are different. But this has nothing to do what you can achieve in business or not. So I love female founders because they have quite often different opportunities because they have different networks. And
different way of management as well.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, we got into my best topic. We have 5 minutes, so I want to use it for our listeners. Stephan, maybe you will start. Let's give some tips when you need to screen what is needed today very, very sexy as a founder for VC or as a personality to be hired in startup or in corporates as well?
That's a great question that I don't have a great answer to. So my personal learning over the last few years is that it's hard to it's hard to learn from other people's mistakes. It feels to me that you kind of need to make some mistakes yourself. So I feel like the more you can show to an investor that you've already paid your Lehrgeld, paid your dues to learn a certain skill or to become aware of a certain situation, I think that will probably make you look more resilient and therefore maybe more suitable as a founder. And just one other small tip: if you are hiring people, I've heard from a few people in the InnovatorsRoom community that they post a job in Cologne, and because of the global talent pool, people from all over the world apply. And so if you're hiring, you need to be clear on what you mean by remote Germany, remote Europe. Some people say remote minus 2 hours of whatever time zone, but also which languages do you expect and kind of what working models, because I think, otherwise if everyone applies to everything, it's not going to work.
Very good point. Oliver.
I look at people how much they can reflect on themselves and on the situation, and maybe even change the perspective. The best people are standing on the shoulders of giants, right? I have seen a lot of people who did a lot of mistakes and didn't learn a shit out of them. So I think where you really learn is whether you have the capability to reflect. Also set your ego aside, because ego is the biggest enemy. And be sure to be in a growth mindset. And I can really recommend the mindset studies, because it really is that there are people who always just want to look successful, and at every price they will do anything to look successful. And then there are people who don't care whether they are being ridiculous as long as they learn. And I would like to hire my people from the second group, who are open to learn and are not looking for the easier way, but are looking for the way where they can learn more, and also surround themselves with people who are smarter than they are. And I think that is a good way of looking for people who will be capable of delivering new things. On the other hand, if I'm a leader in a corporation, and I'm not looking for people to challenge the status quo, I would have to adapt, the search field and the description to people who are happy with what I can offer them.
Great.
Yeah. To make it short, for me, it's passion and burning for learning. But this is more or less a summary of Stephan and Oliver. This makes a growth mindset and gives you an opportunity to start from here and end up here and go even further. And that's what we're looking for. And I would suggest to each and everyone, love to learn.
So don't be scared to fail. This is a big message out of here, as being German, DACH area ecosystem, or even European at all. This is a big message here. And I would like to say that everything I heard from you guys, it's be genuine. This is what we want to see, the storytelling, the why, the passion. You cannot fake it. I mean, maybe you can fake it for 1 hour, for 2 meetings, but you can feel it, also through a pitch deck, you can also feel it that they're not really there, they're not really passionate about. So I think the biggest message of all of us today, who are the winners of the games, are those that stick to their own values. Whatever the values they are still, stick to their own personality, onto their own being genuine and being agile, which we mentioned that in a different words all over the discussion. Be very open. So I want to say thank you. And I learned a lot from this discussion as well. And I'm super happy to have you. And I'm honestly looking forward to see you in person again. So I would say thanks a lot. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and I hope you took a lot of takeaways out of the discussion. Bye, guys.
Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.